All right, welcome to The Explainer. Today, we're diving into a thought experiment that's, well, it's pretty wild. What if you woke up tomorrow and every last drop of oil on the planet had just vanished?
You know, there's this great saying, and it really hits the nail on the head, doesn't it? It tells us we've been looking at this whole oil thing completely backwards. The real question isn't when we run out, it's what happens when we finally have to move on from it. I mean, for decades, right? We've been absolutely obsessed with this ticking clock. Everyone's trying to predict the exact date on the calendar when the last drop of oil gets pumped out of the ground. But that's not what we're talking about today. We're asking a much crazier and honestly a much more interesting question. What if it didn't slowly run out? What if it all just poof, disappeared overnight? Let's get into it.
Okay, so first things first, we have to talk about this number that gets thrown around all the time. You've probably heard it. This idea that we have a set number of years left.
Yeah, that number is usually 47 years, and it comes from some pretty simple math, really. You just take all the oil we know we can get to, the proven reserves, and divide it by how much we burn through every year. Seems straightforward enough.
But here's the thing, that number is totally misleading. Because the amount of oil we can actually get our hands on, it's not some fixed quantity. It changes, like all the time. And that's because of this very specific term, proved reserves. Now, this is super important. This doesn't mean all the oil that exists on Earth. It just means the oil we can get to with today's technology, and that's cheap enough to be worth pulling out of the ground right now. So you can see how this number isn't static. Two things can make it go up. One, we invent some new whiz-bang drilling tech that lets us get to oil that was unreachable before. Boom, more reserves. Two, the price of oil skyrockets. All of a sudden, that really expensive, hard-to-get-to oil, it's now profitable. So again, the pool of proved reserves gets bigger.
Okay, so let's just throw that 47-year idea out the window for a minute. Forget a slow, gradual decline. Let's play with a much more extreme scenario. Let's say we go to bed tonight, and when we wake up, all the crude oil is gone. Everywhere. The stuff in the ground, the stuff in barrels, all of it vanished.
Now, you might be thinking, what about the strategic reserves? You know, countries like Japan keep huge stockpiles, maybe 200 days worth. But here's the reality. The second the news breaks that oil is gone forever, those reserves are as good as gone. The panic would be instantaneous. People would hoard whatever they could get their hands on.
That first week would just be a complete nightmare, a total cascade of failure. It would start with mass panic buying for sure, but within days, governments would have to step in and ration what little fuel is left, just for emergencies. And for the rest of us, well, your car just became the most expensive piece of modern art sitting in your driveway.
And I know what some of you are probably thinking. Ha, I've got an electric car, the grid is my gas station, I'm good to go. And honestly, that's a perfectly logical thought, especially when you just look at the direct numbers for electricity generation. Because, I mean, look at this. It's kind of shocking how little oil we actually burn to make electricity. It's only about 3% of the global total. Almost all of our power comes from other stuff. So, problem solved, right? The grid keeps humming along, the lights stay on, no big deal. Or is it?
Yeah, unfortunately, that's not how it works. And this is where we find the grid's fatal flaw. It's not about what we burn in the power plants, it's about how we get the fuel to the power plants. Think about it. Coal, natural gas, uranium for the nuclear reactors, none of that magically teleports. It's all moved around the world by massive ships burning bunker fuel and across land by diesel trains and diesel trucks. No oil means no transport. No transport means no fuel. And no fuel means the grid goes dark. For everyone.
Okay, but the bad news doesn't stop there. Let's just pretend for a second we somehow solved the electricity problem. We'd still be facing an even bigger, more fundamental crisis. Because we don't just burn oil. We live in a world made from oil. I mean, look around you right now. The plastic in your computer, your phone, your keyboard, the medicines in your cabinet, the fertilizer that grew the food you ate for lunch, even the asphalt on the road outside. It all starts as crude oil. Now, some smart person is going to say, well, actually, we can make plastic out of air and water. And they're right. The chemistry is possible. We can pull carbon out of the air. But here's the catch. It is unbelievably, ridiculously inefficient. It takes a truly mind-boggling amount of energy. And in our no-oil world, where do we get that energy? We don't. So what we're talking about is a complete systemic collapse of, well, everything. And that would force humanity into this desperate all-out scramble.
We'd have to find a new, powerful, concentrated energy source just to start rebuilding civilization from scratch.
And if we're being realistic, in that short term, there's really only one option on the table that has the kind of power density we'd need to reboot society. And that's a massive, worldwide build-out of old-school nuclear fission plants.
But a crisis this big, it could also light a fire under us. It could force a technological leap, pushing us to finally crack the code on the holy grail of energy, nuclear fusion. The crazy part? The best fuel for that, an isotope called helium-3, is super rare here on Earth, but there's tons of it just sitting on the moon. So our ultimate solution might not even be on this planet.
So, okay, we've just walked through this absolutely apocalyptic scenario. Total collapse. But what's weird is, it leaves us with this really strange, kind of provocative thought. Think about it. By having our oil dependency ripped away from us so violently, we might be forced to unlock a future with nearly unlimited clean energy. We'd solve the immediate collapse, yeah, but we'd also solve the long-term problem of climate change in the process. Which brings us to one final, truly mind-bending question. What if the end of oil, this terrible, unthinkable catastrophe, was actually, in the grand scheme of things, the best thing that could have ever happened to us?